Leslie Lewis from the Chamber of Commerce will have a word to share with you all. So thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for coming out. We thought it was important to get out some up-to-date information and perhaps set the tone as how we're moving forward. As we reported on Monday, we did have some damage. We did not think at that point that the damage was all that significant. Since that time, our Public Works Department, our Police Department, with lots of help from outside sources, have been out looking at all of our infrastructure, and it turned out that we did have more damage, unfortunately, than we expected. The good news is none of that damage impacts our community in a direct day-to-day way, but they are things that we need to take care of. So yesterday I signed a resolution declaring a local disaster, and we'll explain just a bit what that means. But most importantly, we wanted to get the message out that although we did have damage, we're open for business, and we will move forward, of course, to correct that damage as quickly as we can. So just wanted to give some clarification about that, and we'll have some more details from the chief.
Thank you, Mayor. In case you would like copies, if you didn't get it, there's copies of the mayor's press release and a copy of the disaster declaration as it's filed with our city clerk and county clerk. And I just want to share with you a little bit of what it means for a disaster declaration. As the mayor said, a lot of what we found has been sort of behind the scenes and under the covers. There's not a lot that's directly affecting our visitors and our residents. There were some residents and businesses that got a little bit of water in their garages and basements and some of the low-lying areas on their floors, but as far as we know, relatively minor things. A disaster declaration means that we've reached a point in the effort here where it's more than what the city has in resources and immediately available funding. And so the law requires that in order to access both our reserve funds and then resources available from mutual aid partners, from the state, and from the feds if it reaches that level, in order to garner those things, we have to declare a disaster. And the use of that word has a connotation that sometimes what comes to mind immediately is everything's leveled here and nothing's working. But we're here today to make sure that everyone knows everything is okay on the surface here. We've got some infrastructure things that we have to fix. And Shelley Cobo with Public Works is going to give some more details on that. But I'd like to read the actual statute and share that with you so that there's a very deep understanding of this. And that's from section 24-33.5-709, local disaster emergencies. The effect of a declaration of local disaster emergency is to activate the response and recovery aspects of any and all applicable local and interjurisdictional disaster emergency plans, and to authorize the furnishing of aid and assistance under such plans. So that's the action we're taking, is to open those doors to get our partners in to help us. That's all I have. Shelley?
Can I ask a question while we're on this?
Sure. How about if we take questions at the end? Is that all right? Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shelley Cobaugh. I'm the city's Public Services Director. I have a staff of 31 people who work for me up at our Public Services yard. So far, since Monday, we have removed and have up at our yard approximately 1,600 cubic yards of sediment and woody debris. That's equivalent to 100 large dump truck loads. It's a lot of debris. It's a relative mountain up there. We're currently running 7 teams of city staff because our mutual aid partners are on other issues that they have in their jurisdictions. So we're running 7 teams of 3 to 4 staff members. Those teams are currently addressing one of our major points of egress here, ingress and egress, which is Serpentine Road. We lost some roadbed, and Fountain Creek tried to find a new path onto our roadway. The crews have already pushed Fountain Creek back where it historically flowed, and we've got large diameter boulders being brought in, and they're moving those large diameter boulders with heavy equipment as we speak. And I think we have kept further damage from occurring to that road, so we have maintained that point of ingress and egress to the city, and it is open to a single lane of traffic. We have our 7 teams are focusing first and primarily on Serpentine. I have 2 teams so I have 6 people up there. I have a team of 4 on cleaning inlets, because when we have hail events and leaves are stripped from trees every time we get small rainstorms subsequent to the larger event, those leaves are being carried onto our inlets and blocking them. So we've got a pretty major effort sweeping up what's left of the sediment that wasn't removed earlier in the week. We are running street sweepers and skid loaders and getting that debris out, trying to make it better for people who are walking around Manitou and coming here to enjoy our beautiful town. So we've got Manitou Avenue is very clean at this point. You'd never know anything happened. I think you'd be proud of my team. I am of the work they've done. So they'll be going into the smaller streets to sweep as soon as we get arterial swept. So if you have debris on your street, I apologize. We'll get to you as fast as we can. Please know that we had to focus on arterials and collectors to assure that everybody could get in and out of here with emergency equipment and things of that nature. We have identified some points of failure, and we're working to repair those points of failure. We got all our flood control facilities that were inundated with sediment. Those have been cleared. We're ready for the next storm here in Manitou Springs. So that's really good news. Now we're working on secondary flood control facilities, clearing sediment and debris from those facilities. So we have crews actively working up on Washington and Sunshine Trail, where we had a large area of deposition of sediment. We have teams that are working, a team of sawyers that are in Fountain Creek, and they're clearing woody debris and cutting trees as we speak. They have cut a tremendous amount of trees, and we're going down the creek and we're moving any fallen branches. The city only owns specific portions of the creek, so we have been entering and trying to help private property owners by removing large woody debris off their property, because if we don't remove it, it ends up blocking our culverts and bridges. So it's critical for us to get that debris removed. We have teams of volunteers that have helped, that we owe a great deal of thanks to. The people here in Manitou Springs are unbelievable, and we'd like to thank you. You are awesome. You've helped us very much. We do want some more help from you, though. If you have leaves and other debris on your sidewalks, those sidewalks are your responsibility. But what we would like to offer is we will bring trash bags down here to City Hall and have them available. If you could fill them with leaves and take them and put them in the roll-offs that we'll have available at the Hiawatha Gardens facility at Old Man's Trail in El Paso. We would appreciate it. That'll keep those leaves out of our storm drain inlets so we don't have to continuously repeat work. We can go on to new areas instead of going back as new leaves get on our inlets. So we would appreciate that very much. We would like you to contact us if you have damage to your private property. We'd like to keep a running tally of private damage. That helps us in this declaration. It's what we did in 2015. So if you had water in your basement, if you have erosion on your property, please contact us. You can preferably by email to dgoodboe, which is GOODBOE @comsgov.com. We'll get a spreadsheet going and we'll have that ready if we get a federal disaster declaration, so those people, when they come to town, know which residents to reach out to right away. I asked my crews, I met with them at noon, and I asked them if there was a message they'd like to get out to the public. And they ask the public, if as you're traveling and you see street sweepers and skid loaders, please give them room. Please understand that they can't hear you. They have ear protection on, so hollering at them doesn't work. Fish shaking, unfortunately, does, and it'd be nice if we didn't get that. So with that, I think that's about all I had. And again, thank you very much to the residents and crews here at the City of Manitou Springs.
Go ahead. Leslie?
Hi, I'm Leslie Lewis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Manitou Springs Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. And I get to share the good news, and the good news is businesses had a little bit of water that came in, but they spent Tuesday with BOPs. They got it all cleaned up. They've been open for business since Tuesday morning. So we encourage lots of people to come out, continue to support these businesses. They're resilient, but it's great to know that there wasn't a lot of concern for them other than a little cleanup, and we are moving strong. Thank you.
Any questions? You had a question.
I had a question.
All right.
So,
Did it get answered?
not quite yet. So when it comes to declaring this state of disaster emergency for local specific, is it just the name that is kind of dissuading us? Because obviously it opens up this extra budget and also then opens up potential for state and federal money coming in. So were we afraid to call it that because it just has a bad sound to it?
I think part of the goal of the mayor's press conference today was to help everyone understand what the word disaster means to us. You know, it doesn't mean that our town's been leveled by a tornado and nothing but stumps are still standing. We are in great shape as far as our businesses and our residents and our guests are concerned. Everything's still running as normal as can be, given what's happened under the covers. And that the reason for this is, yes, to open up the resources that are available to us. It's beyond mutual aid at this point. We have to start paying for things. And so, you know, the added part of our budget, what's available from the state and disaster funds, and it's that word. And then there's a possibility, we've been talking with our partners at the state, there's a possibility there's been enough damage in the region and the state out of this incident on Monday that we may reach a presidential disaster declaration. Use of that word again, but it's still meaning it's bringing resources to us.
And there's no real other downside to it besides it just sounds bad.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We don't have to like.
Actually, yeah, maybe we can find a way to say this is good news for us because we hope that we'll be getting help from the state and from our partners locally.
Where will a lot of this funding from the disaster relief go to? Since we are talking about businesses not being too damaged, where is this money going to be focusing on?
So the money that's available to the municipality are from the state and federal if it reaches that level. There's also an expectation that we have some skin in the game, shall we say. So it's a negotiation process. It's going to depend on how widespread the disaster is as far as, you know, if it does make a presidential declaration, that means it's much more significant than one municipality. We could have a state declaration as well, and so that will hopefully bring us some state funds in addition to our municipal funds.
I think the question was specifically what projects,
Right.
and Shelley can certainly
Yeah,
go into more detail about that.
we're not ready to target specific projects. It will depend on how deep it is, but primarily those funds will be driven towards infrastructure projects.
When we're talking about the $1.5 million estimate for storm damages so far, it might have already said in that press release, I might have been just forgetting, but do we have an estimate of how much in terms of our percentage for the budget we're dealing with? Because I know it's a big hit, but I just want to know how big.
Do you have a feel for that, Mayor? It's well beyond our reserve funds, I can
It's about
certainly say that.
15% of our general funds, $1.5 million.
And that's unacceptable for basically storm damage. We can't handle it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
That-
How much money do you guys have set aside in the reserve fund for damages like this, or for storms?
Yeah, we don't allocate specifically for storms or for damage. We have a reserve fund for emergencies, but it's not specifically allocated for a particular purpose. City Council would allocate that money if needed, and we have not specifically addressed that.
How has your flood mitigation worked out that you guys have been doing since 2015? I mean, we did a lot of work. Did it survive, or is it still having issues?
The flood mitigation work that we've done functioned as designed. We had a debris net up in Upper Williams Canyon that stopped tons and tons and tons of woody debris from reaching downtown Manitou Springs, which is why businesses were just cleaning out water instead of mud and other detritus from their businesses. Those debris nets and that sediment basin up in Williams Creek functioned as designed. We have a basin that the NRCS funded up on Upper Pawnee that filled with sediment, but that's what it was designed to do. So for us, it's a large sediment removal of facilities that were designed to hold sediment. So facilities functioned as designed, and I think we should be proud of that. I don't think we have wasted any of the federal dollars. If that's the insinuation, I'm not saying that it is, but that money was well spent, and it has served the city well, the facilities that we've constructed.
Shelley, any update on the floodgates on Canyon Avenue?
Rhonda, I did speak with the engineer, and he said that in the design process, it was discussed how large of diameter pipe was going to be placed below the float. There's a float in each one of those gate mechanisms, and it will rise, and with the rising float, the gate goes up. So he feels that pipe that is draining the float tube is probably too large. That we will be retrofitting with an orifice plate. One of the gates did not function. So he has been in contact with the manufacturer, and he is, they're under warranty, and we'll get those gates fixed. And that engineer was out here inspecting those gates on Tuesday. So we've got some good engineering partners and design partners. They're proud of these projects they build, and they come here immediately to see how they're functioning. So there was a design, I don't know if I would call it a design issue. He said it was decided to make that diameter larger because he said that I guess in some of the public meetings that were conducted, that it was decided that people didn't really want the gates coming up all the time. I told him, when we've got a police officer, we've got resources parked there to block traffic, to keep people from going down Cannon Avenue. I don't think my crews don't care. We'll go up there and put them down if they come up a little too quick. We don't have a problem with that at all. So we're going to change that design detail.
So was it just the one that didn't function properly?
Yes, according to the engineer, there was one that completely did not function. One of my staff members who was up in that area said there was a car on one of the other ones that somebody had parked across it. So that's another thing we have to watch. The one in the middle, the largest of the floodgates on Park Avenue, we don't feel that there was enough water in the float mechanism to cause it to go up because the road was graded in such a way, the road was super elevated to the west. So, which as designed, that floodgate wouldn't have to come up unless it gets to a certain level. And we've got about a 2-foot grade break, quite a bit of conveyance in Cannon Avenue before that gate needs to come up.
So did that car prevent it from going up?
That's what the assertion is. We don't have any proof of that. It was just a staff member saw a car. I'm not sure if that's what happened or not.
Were those gates put in place after the 2013 flood, or when were those added?
Those gates were added after the 2013 flood. The city wrote about 11 or 12 grant. We applied for 12 different projects, and that was one of the 12 projects, Williams Canyon Phase 3. Those gates were funded with community development block grant dollars, and the cost on the flood walls and the flood gates was, I believe, $970,000.
Any other questions? Mayor, anything to close?
No, just thank you. If you have any other questions, we'll be around.
Thank you.
Glad to do it. Thanks. That's the kind of enthusiasm I like.
Go drop a quarter in the arcade.
Supposed to how clean the sidewalks are, and then crush your palm.
There you go.
Free lunch for everybody. Just go ask the merchants.
So